Hey guys, so here we are, Austere August, the 25th day. Nacet blade, Vetiver is the scent of Martin de Candre. Semogue Owners Club Taj handle, it's a boar brush, special edition from Fatip. It's the Piccolo handle, and it has the open comb base plate. It's already got the Nacet in there, and I'm going to gently put things down here. Get that brush back in my little soak cup. Squeeze the bristles so they get past the lip there. That knot is really opening up. Lots of split tips on that. It's getting better and better. 326 uses prior to today. So 327 for the Nacet after today is done. Soap weight was 344 grams today, and I think it might be same as what the scale read yesterday, and so it's possible that the weight is changing per day in such small increments, probably on the order of a quarter of a gram each time. That seems to be kind of a quarter to a third of a gram seems to be what I'm using up. And that's why we have to do a good many data points so that we can eliminate that variation and because my measuring tool is not super precise. It doesn't go to the 10th of a gram, it just goes to the number of grams. All right, so now today I did remember to do a variation to what I've been doing lately. I have for the last several shaves since about the 10th of August, I've been doing 13 swirls or less because I realized that anything more than that was just wasted lather going down the drain, and it just meant I had to spend more time mixing water, add more water in to get the lather I wanted. And so let us use the same details as yesterday. 10 swirls, and it took 2.5 teaspoons of water to hydrate everything properly. And I ended up with 6 passes, roughly, of lather, which is plenty. A couple of more passes that I need. I don't think it's going to be as nice today because I'm going to face lather. This is not going to affect my usage because I'm going to load exactly how I would if I were then to move to the bowl and make up the lather. So the usage is going to be the same. I just think at the end I'm going to have a skimpy lather at pass number 3 instead of a fine lather with a couple extra more passes. Because I've done this a few times. I did it with sterling. I did it with chiseled face. Similar results. So let's see what happens. All right. Oh, and for the balm, Soap Commander Integrity Unscented, and this is the menthol-free variant of that. And let's show you the blade. About to load up the soap. Let me get my face wet. About 24 hours since my last shave. Since I am not building a lather, normally I like to have my face be wet for 3, 5, 6 minutes before I start putting soap on it. This helps the hair to start the softening process, that sort of thing. But after the loading, I'm not going to spend any minutes in the bowl because I'm going to go right to the face. So I wanted to wet my face before I showed you the blade. There's the Nacet. Got those 3 dots right there that near the center. Kind of show you that it's the same marathon blade I've been using for quite some time. Let's check the alignment. Yep. And you can actually see right there the little extra glint from where I dropped it back in use number 225. All right, that's a secondary form of authentication for the doubters out there. And there have been a few, and rightfully so. Some people find it really difficult to just get 5 shaves out of a blade. And here comes along some guy who says he's getting more than 300, you know? All right. So I'm going to do my usual water thing as well. I'm going to shake much of the water out. Yeah, because if I don't shake it out right now, it's going to dump out once I start working the lather on my face anyway. Okay, and then we'll gradually add water back to the soap, back to the brush as we're face lathering. All right, so 10 swirls. 1. So that has been enough in the past to give me 6 passes of lather. Isn't that crazy? Now I don't have quite as much right here dripping out or anything because I shook just a little bit more water out because I knew it's gonna just kind of dump on me. Okay, so the simplicity of face lathering is you go right to your face instead of working with a bowl. I don't like the negatives of face lathering. I've given it some reasonable attempts, I believe, and I've found one method that seemed like it was going to work pretty well. I'm doing really light right now because I don't want to take the water that's stored in the brush. And this is a theory. This is not something that I have always done. This is a educated guess here because something I have had happen many times in the past. You press the brush too hard on your face and all that water that's inside the bristles, kind of in the medium part, decides it's going to leave the building like you're squeezing a sponge. So I'm going to not flex the brush too much, and sure enough, it's, you know, there's some drips on my shirt here, but it's not really that bad at all. So hopefully we will keep some of the water in the brush, which means I don't have to add it, which might be nice. As the lather on my face then gets thicker, and you can see it's taking up more of the brush's space, and so then I can start working with more confidence here. And sure enough, I get a nice concentrated lather. And yeah, and I've still got some water that's dripping out of the brush. It's kind of coming out of the bottom of the knot toward the handle, so it's not really mixing with my soap. So we start adding some to the center of the knot, tilting my head so that maybe it doesn't run out the wrong way. And we'll probably have to tolerate a drier lather with this one than I usually like, just because if I keep adding water to get it kind of where I like it, then it'll start flying off and get messy and wasteful, and it's really frustrating. So you know what I might think of now? I might think of the brush. I might stop working my face here when I believe the brush kind of has the right amount and the right ratio of lather, water, and all those things for the next couple of passes. So that looks pretty good, huh? And we've only added about half a teaspoon of water. So I don't need a lot of this kind of extra stuff on my face, so we can save that for the next pass. I don't need this stuff below here that's in a non-shaving area, but that's not very much. So, all right, there we go. Put that down on its base. And here we go. Little tuggy, not bad. I chose a good razor for this month. This razor was handling the Nacet really well, right around the 300 mark. So I went ahead and picked it. I was hoping that things wouldn't change during the month, you know. One of the reasons I can get so many uses out of a blade is that when it starts feeling weird, especially in a mild razor, when it starts feeling rough, I move it to a different geometry razor, usually more aggressive. So I start it in my mild razors, and then I move it to my medium razors, usually at about use 30 or 40. And it's able to stay in my medium, at least this one was, till maybe use 60, 70, 80, somewhere around there. I can't really remember. All right, well, let's rinse. This lather does feel a little better at the higher concentrations, you know. It felt actually slick on my face instead of just rinsing right away. So maybe this one pays to run it a lot thicker than I might usually do. You know, my method here is, it might just pay off. This brush is definitely holding enough soap. Putting that extra bit of soap seems to have been a really good idea. I think the fact that I have to run this dryer is working for me in terms of the face lather. Because see here, there's plenty of lather right there for the third pass. So I'm really kind of glad I tried this, because this is not bad. Cross grain now. Puffing out my cheeks just a little bit. So maybe if I want a face lather, that might be a good time to locate some of my soaps that kind of have the higher structure, some of the ones where I have made a note to run it drier than usual. Always maintaining a light touch. I'm able to move fast because I've done this a lot, and I've got good muscle memory with how to put it on my face carefully and lightly, but also quickly, and that just comes with time. So if you're new, take your time. The speed will come. And let's rinse again. Yeah, guys, the MdC is feeling like a lot better soap, at this concentration level. Now notice I'm having to, it's not quite as luxurious on my face as the other passes, and that's just kind of normal. But I bet I can just kind of spread it around without too much of a problem. And I've still got enough for like a neck pass if I feel like I need that. And that's what we've got left. So no, we don't have 6 passes. But this was a 10-second load. I'm sorry, a 10 swirl load. I'm also listening for the sound of the hairs being cut and the feel, so that when I go back for that next stroke in the same area, I can adjust my angle. All kind of happening in the fraction of a second there. We humans are pretty cool little inventions. And then as this is the third pass, I will do a little stretching, chin up this way, bring the neck back. You don't want to overstretch. That can sometimes leave hairs a little too exposed, so that you create for yourself the problem of maybe an ingrown hair. I fortunately never really had that issue. Maybe because I just I've never really chased the whole baby butt smooth issue. All right. Rinse. All right. Yeah, I'd like to do another pass there. So as you can see, the third pass was kind of meager, but you know, workable. This one more so, but again, it's enough to do the job. And this lather right here is quite dry. It feels very scrapey. So what did I learn today? I learned a couple of cool things. It seemed like my strategy of going easy with the brush pressure so I didn't flush all that water out until after the lather was kind of made, it seemed to work well. So that's cool. Also, I learned that on the third pass, I had adequate lather. Wasn't nearly as skimpy as some of my other experiments. And so whatever I did this time seemed to be better than before. I learned that MdC prefers for a luxury feel, for a feel where you just really enjoy, you think you've got, man, I've got a hold of a quality soap and it just feels super slick and kind of creamy. That has to be done with MdC by using much less water than I usually use for better soaps. And when I say better, maybe what I mean is just different. This soap is, let's put it this way, it turns into kind of a mid-tier B-string, second tier, maybe even third tier soap, lather. if you water it too much. It's functional, but it just doesn't give you too much to brag about. And the whole month here, I've been using that kind of soap. However, the soap today, while it felt a little dry and pasty on that third pass, and especially on that fourth neck only pass, it was still a better feel on the first two passes there. The third pass and fourth didn't feel quite as good because they were starting to dry out. So the water that was in the brush mainly was what we used today. And then we only added about 2/3 of a teaspoon of water to the brush. Time may not be too different. By the time all is said and done, as I look at my clock, it's about where it is at the end of my shaves. Don't have a bowl to work with, to clean up, you know. But, that's pretty cool. Learned a few things. Now let me wash off my face, check the closeness, and I'll put on the balm. So, previously, lather quality wasn't really something I had on my list of things to brag about with MdC, but if you like your lathers on the dry side, then this has a much better feel to it. You feel like, hey, I'm enjoying this lather. The feel of it just feels like I've paid for something good, you know, instead of the second string lather I've been getting so far, because I like mine really wet. And so maybe MdC is not a bad soap. It's just not really made for people who like their lathers really wet. You know, that might be the key to finding a good place for it. So that's cool. And let's clean up my gear. And here is the brush, looking good. It really is. Nice big old splay. So many of these tips I've been splitting really well, so I'm happy with the way it's heading. And again, we use the same load. So this wasn't an overload like some guys do with their soaps, and they use 1.5 grams of soap. And now, of course, I'm talking about a softer soap like Sterling or Barrister and Man or something like that. You know, but I use the same. If I would have used a bowl, I would have gotten 6 passes out of this same soap instead of a 3-pass, kind of getting meager toward the end with an extra half pass for the neck. So given that this soap felt better in my fingers, and during the rinses, moving that soap off my face, it really did feel like a good soap. I didn't like the shave as much. I felt like it was too dry on my face, and it wasn't giving me the same glide that I have with the more hydrated soap. So my thought is right now, my preference would be to keep with the bowl and maybe back off on the hydration a little bit, but really not all that much, because I just like that slickness, the ease of use there, even if it doesn't give me any kind of nice feel response when I'm rinsing and holding it in my hands and that sort of thing. We'll see how it goes, but I'm really happy with what I've learned today. Pretty cool. That's new information, some wisdom that I can put out to other people. Instead of just talking about the bowl lathering, I can talk with authority about how if you run it a lot drier than usual, then you can experience a really luxurious feeling soap. It may not give you the slickness that you quite want, but you know, you can just pick which way you'd like to go. And who knows, maybe there's a happy medium in there somewhere. I wouldn't want to do the face lathering method and add more water than what you saw me add, because it would have just started to come off the brush. And it's just really frustrating when it does that. So if I were to face lather, I want to kind of keep where I was today in terms of the water ratio and where I stopped adding water. And it was fairly, clean on my shirt, and it wasn't frustrating in the terms of the best water flying off the brush and being useless. So, but then I could choose whatever I wanted to do if I was using the bowl. There we go, guys. I sure hope that there is something in this video. We've got some new stuff we learned, so maybe there's some stuff in here that's going to help you out as well. I know I sure picked up on some things. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope you have a good night. Take care.